76ers, they are at the end of the road tonight as they visit the Dallas Mavericks at American Airlines Center. How are you? I'm Brian Seltzer, Lauren Rosen. Hello to you. We've talked about this lengthy road stretch for quite some time for the 76ers. 20 out of the last 23 days on the road, all but two of their games in a stretch of 12 on the road. It was that back-to-back they had at home last weekend, but we're here. We have some home games to look forward to on the horizon, but not before a good test tonight.
Yes, indeed. Honestly, the Dallas game that we had in February, one of my favorites so far this year. Looking forward to the rematch. I'm sure Dallas is feeling like they have something to prove. They played the first night of a back-to-back last night against San Antonio and lost narrowly. So I'm sure they're coming out with a chip on their shoulder, looking to get a victory over the guys that topped them last time in your 76ers.
Two really good teams. The 76ers obviously tied for first in the Eastern Conference with the Brooklyn Nets. They hold the tiebreaker to the Sixers with a record of 36-17. Incredible. The Sixers could get to 20 games over 500 tonight. I mean, think about that. That is really impressive stuff. The Dallas Mavericks are 29-23 on the year, towards the bottom of the Western Conference, trying to stay in the thick of things. They obviously have tremendous talent led by Luka Doncic. They also have Kristaps Porzingis. There's talk about J.J. Redick possibly making his Dallas Mavericks debut tonight, which should add some intrigue if that does take place. But the Sixers line, I think when you look back over the last 2.5, 3 weeks, they have an opportunity right now to wrap up this stretch on the road with a really good record of 7-3 in their 10 road games going back to that start of this road stretch against the New York Knicks at the end of March. So I think that if you took that into account, while also knowing the Sixers wouldn't be at full strength during all this time, go 7-3 is incredible. I think that's a really, really great achievement for this team, possibly.
I mean, 7-3 would have been excellent if Joel Embiid had been available the entire time. Teams that are good teams look to go 500 on the road. It's something we hear year after year. This is a team that's well above 500 on the road and did a lot of that work without Joel Embiid. It's been a pleasure to see him back, but worth remembering that first road trip, that really long West Coast road trip with a lot of late nights, these guys pulled it off without their best player. It's been a very impressive stretch. We're going to hear from Seth Curry in a little bit about how much they're looking forward to ending this stretch. But yeah, a lot to like about the way the Sixers have played on the road over these last few weeks.
So last we saw the 76ers, it was back 2 days ago as they wrapped up a back-to-back on Saturday. They beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 117-93. A great bounce back by the Sixers. They're currently 2-1 on this four-game road trip. Their only loss was at New Orleans last Friday, a game that they wanted to quickly move past. And quickly move past, Lauren, they did. They jumped the Thunder right out of the gates, scoring 37 points in the first quarter and got right down to business.
Yeah, that was a game that the Thunder never led. The Sixers maintained control throughout, exactly what they wanted to do on that second night of a back-to-back. And second night of a back-to-back, especially on the road, never easy, regardless of the opponent. The Sixers did exactly what they wanted to do, even without Danny Green and Tobias Harris in the starting lineup, the two of them, with managing minor injuries. Obviously, probably deserved a little bit of a break when you look at the schedule that the team has had. Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle stepped into the starting lineup in their places and did a great job, in my opinion, Celts.
No doubt about it. The 76ers got a big lift. They also got big contributions from this man, who we'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. But I think, Lauren, that we saw the Sixers get back to what they are. It was funny. Doc Rivers said before the game, "What do you hope to see from your team?" Someone asked him, and he said, "I want to see us look like the 76ers." And then the follow-up question was, "Well, yeah, what's that?" And Doc was like, "You should know by now." And yes, we should know what the Sixers are by now. Defensive first team, a team that can play through Joel Embiid, that has Ben Simmons being the tone setter, and finds ways to win games regardless of the circumstances that are thrown at them. I think, yeah, the Sixers are talented, but a big part of their identity is they've figured out how to win regardless of who's in, who's out. And I think that we saw all those things return in that game on Saturday.
I'm with you, Celts. Setting the tone on defense and finding ways to win. We've seen it all season long. Two really refreshing qualities in a team, especially as you look down a difficult stretch and probably a difficult playoffs. It's really exciting to see the team find ways to win, regardless of who's available. Tonight, of course, all the heavy hitters are expected to be available. For those of you asking in the comments, the only person on the injury report is George Hill, who remains out after that thumb surgery, but says that he's been progressing well and is looking forward to getting on the court with his teammates.
As for what Doc Rivers thought of that game against the Oklahoma City Thunder on Saturday, well, here's what he said afterwards.
Yeah, I don't. The last night to me was last night. I kind of move on from that. Whether we won last night or not or lost, it's all about tonight and how we played. I thought we were solid, and that's what we needed to be.
Doc Rivers with some comments about how the 76ers fared against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the game on Saturday, and certainly seeing Joel Embiid performing the way that he did, Lauren, in that game versus OKC, really encouraging. He only played so I think what I'm about to do is make it sound like I'm building up Joel Embiid's performance, and then the lower third is going to show that he had 27 points and 9 rebounds, which by Joel Embiid standards this year, I'm not going to say pedestrian, but it's not his ultra elite in terms of just statistical number and output. But he played 27 minutes. So think about that, a point per minute from Joel Embiid. I thought he looked really, really good, showed a little bit more, dipped into the bag a little bit more of his tricks offensively, and was really solid protecting the rim.
Well, and Doc Rivers likes to talk about old school load management. And those 27 minutes show just that for Joel Embiid. They didn't need him down the stretch, which is exactly what you want in the second half of a back to back if your big fella is playing in both games, as Joel did. But yeah, he looked really, really strong against OKC, against his former friend, Tony Bradley. He had a couple really exciting moments. I shouldn't say former friend, former teammate, and probably current friend, Tony Bradley. But yeah, Celts, Joel looked like he looked springy. He looked sort of back to his old ways, as did he against Boston. Really cool to see him playing at such a high level and saying that he still wants to unlock more.
Seeing him do what he did on the second night of a back to back and looking really spry, I think that was an important subplot as well. I think that things aligned for him to play for the second time in as many games. Probably just wanted to knock off some of the frustration from the night before, and he certainly looked like he came out there and set an impressive tone. His numbers since returning from injury, averaging right around 25.5 points per game, so that's roughly 5 point less than what he averaged before the injury, shooting 46%, 82% from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 2.5 blocks. So I think it would not surprise me at all if it'll be neat to see how he does against really stiff competition coming up when the Sixers get home, get back to fully where he was before the injury.
Yeah, and worth noting that the minutes are down a little bit, especially when you look at the steep win and a difficult loss that the team has had over the last few days. Joel probably expect to see him playing heavier minutes in the games he plays in over this next stretch where the opponents are a little bit more formidable. Some really exciting ones coming up this week, starting tonight, Celts.
76ers and Joel Embiid, they know that he's in the conversation for that 3-letter award at the end of the year. And Joe still hopes that he can make a run at it.
Man, I always, say that, if we win, everybody wins. So, when you talk about individual accolades like MVP or Defensive Player of the Year or All NBA or All Defensive Teams, it's not going to happen unless we win. So that's always my main focus, just to go out there and, win every single game. And obviously, our goal is to finish first. But when it comes to the MVP stuff, I feel like I'm still right there. When I'm on the floor, I feel like I've been the best all season. Just doing my thing, just dominating. With the help of my teammates and the coaches, putting me in the right, positions to succeed. But I still think I'm right there. I still think I'm the MVP. Big. I've been dominant all season. And I'm not gonna stop. But the bigger goal, obviously, is just to get to the playoffs healthy. To be able to compete for the whole thing.
Refreshing and encouraging to hear that stance from Joel Embiid, I think, Lauren. It's what he's been saying all year.
Yeah, for sure. This is a guy who knows exactly what he wants. He wants a championship. He wants a deep run with this group of teammates, and he wants to do it at full strength. He's really been putting in the work. Seltz, you and I talk about it a lot on our various programming, but we've seen it behind the scenes since the preseason. Clearly, he was working hard during his injury, doing what he could, taking care of his body. It's been just so impressive to watch him maintain the strength and the endurance and the stamina, especially coming back after an injury. He hasn't looked particularly tired. He hasn't looked like he's had to labor too much, even though he says he's not fully comfortable, he's not fully at full strength. It's been awesome to see the work that he's put in pay off consistently.
Doc Rivers said during his pregame media availability tonight that Joel's tested out maybe 10 different, if he had to estimate, knee braces so far. So I think that that's something we should acknowledge too, that Joel's just trying to literally get comfortable back out there, in addition to kind of the holistic sense after missing all the time that he missed. But Lauren, I think that you brought up something really important to the subplot from Saturday's win. Is that other guys stepped up earlier, and you mentioned Furkan Korkmaz. Great game from him. Matisse Thybulle, the two of them started. I love seeing Mike Scott get back out there and look like the Mike Scott that we came to know.
As did I. Mike Scott, the ultimate professional. We do talk about it a lot, but shooters have to shoot and keep shooting. He did have a tougher stretch, but it's been awesome to see the shots fall for Mike. He's such a durable, reliable veteran for this team. The guys love him. His coach loves him. Really cool to see him thrive over the last couple of games.
Mike Scott's 13 points, his second highest total of the season. Really good from outside the arc, 3 for 6. He shot 12 for 28 from 3 over the last 7 games. That's a good, solid sample size there, Lauren. And he's shooting over 40%. So we've talked about needs for the 76ers, whether it was the trade deadline, the buyout market, depth at the stretch four. That was one thing Sixers do announce they added Anthony Tolliver earlier today. But I think, Mike, he's playing like this, then that's a good option to have.
No doubt about it. Will be interesting to see sort of where things shake out with Anthony Tolliver in the mix at that similar position. But yeah, just great to see the shots fall for Mike. He works hard at his craft and he continues to go for it and show up for his teammates. Really happy to see him succeed.
We know another key three-point threat for the 76ers, Lauren, is Seth Curry. And tonight he takes on a former team of his, one of several former teams he's had, but his most recent team, the Dallas Mavericks, right?
Yes, indeed. Last time he said he felt the Mavericks made a bad business decision, played pretty well against them. And he says this time around, though, it's all about getting those wins. He talked about that a little bit this morning, and I caught up with him about what he's looking forward to about getting back to South Philadelphia.
How impressed were you with Furkan stepping into the starting lineup last game? Have you seen him grow as a shooter? Do you guys have any bond between two great shooters? What do you think about his play lately?
I mean, he's been great. He's always aggressive when he steps on the floor, trying to find his shot and trying to get going. And I mean, that's what we needed last game. We had two starters out, obviously, and he stepped in and did a great job. He's been getting better all year for us, so hopefully he can keep that going.
Tonight marks the last of the road games in this 20 days on the road out of 23 days. How much are you looking forward to wrapping up this trip and getting back onto your home court?
I'm very excited to get back. It's been a real taxing on all of us, all the travel and all the road games, but part of the league, and we're all excited to get back to Philly in front of our home fans. And I think we just got to finish the job and take care of tonight, and then we can look forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Seth.
Always good to hear that the team is looking forward to getting home. And how could they not? It's been quite a trip, but they've been quite successful. And the last step could be a victory tonight in Dallas.
The 76ers take on the obviously Brooklyn Nets, the LA Clippers, and then also the Golden State Warriors to open up this stretch at home. Phoenix Suns around this time next week. So, wow. It's really going to be quite the stretch. Should be a lot of fun for the Sixers. And tonight, there's no overlooking their opponent in the Dallas Mavericks. They're 29-23. They had been playing tremendously well. I don't even think you could necessarily say they played poorly last night. They were in a close game against a rival in San Antonio. They came up 2 points short. Nevertheless, they've still won 6 out of their last 8 games, Lauren.
Yep, one of the best teams since the All-Star break, and it hasn't been that close. They perhaps underperformed a little bit at the beginning of the season, but in the last couple of months, you've seen what this Dallas Mavericks team can do. A lot of quality wins, one against the Milwaukee Bucks last week. And anytime you play against a player like Luka, you know they have the firepower, and it seems like the pieces that they have surrounding Luka are doing their job as well. It's a dangerous team, and I'm looking forward rather to the matchup.
Two 20-point scores in the starting lineup between Luka and Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis averaging just under 21 points per game, nearly a double-double. He brings in around 9.5 rebounds per outing. And then quality role players, like you mentioned, Lauren, whether it's Josh Richardson, who's probably a role player plus, you could probably put him even in a category above being a standard role player, but Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson off the bench. Quality team, and they're in the midst of a stretch in which they've played a few at home. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks by 15 the game before San Antonio, so something to take note of. And here's a look at the first matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, and I said it earlier, but this was one of my favorite games of the season. Sixers, of course, took a 111-97 victory in this one back on February 25th. Something we haven't talked about yet, Celts, Bobby and Toby playing against each other for the second and final time this season.
Get your goldfish ready.
Get your goldfish ready indeed. And Tobias Harris, of course, went out early in this one with that minor injury that kept him out for 2 games. We didn't get to see full strength Toby versus full strength Bobby, but tonight could be our opportunity for that storied matchup in this league.
Sixers beat Dallas the first time around, 111-97 behind a 33-14 run in the second quarter. So that's what gave the 76ers the upper hand in this 2-game series so far. As for our keys to the night's game, I'm getting the time. I'm looking at it. I'm checking it on my Tissot Chrono NBA XL Special Edition. Yeah, it's time for the keys to the game.
That's crazy, Celts. My Tissot PR100 also says that it's time for the keys to the game.
Well, you know what? Dare I say, should I do it? Should I say it? I'm so sorry, people out there. I'm going to say it, though. We are in sync.
I love it. I love it. Am I
Doing it
first,
myself.
Celts?
I'm sorry. Yes, you are first.
Well, this might be lazy. Maybe it's just efficient, but I chose the exact same key that I had last time the Sixers and the Mavericks met up. I said locked on Luka. Ben Simmons did a phenomenal job defending Luka Doncic in the first matchup between these teams. Luka is the straw that stirs the Dallas Mavs drink. 28.5 points, 8.1 rebounds, 8.7 assists per game. If you keep Luka on lock, and the Sixers do have the guys that could get it done, you're going to be in pretty good shape tonight.
I tend to agree. My key is defend from deep. The Dallas Mavericks, they have some solid three-point shooting threats that's only going to improve should JJ Redick get into the game. They also have a great mid-range field goal shooting percentage, top 5 in that. The Sixers are actually 2 in that category. But when the Mavericks hit 15 threes or more this season, they are 16-4. And yes, I'm looking at a card that says that because I wanted to make sure I got the statistic right. Don't let them make 15 threes. Some of those stats are a little bit silly. Because, like, don't let them hit 13 threes Tuesday for a nationally televised game. You can slice and dice a lot of these numbers. But to me, there's enough of a sample size there.
Well, we had a through line there, Celts, and it's defense. The Sixers do a good job against good offensive teams when they play good defense. Nothing new here for keys to the game.
I think in general, though, Lauren, Dallas offense is really balanced. They can score inside in the restricted area, from the mid-range, from 3. They have great free throw shooters. They had another one in JJ Redick. So for the 76ers tonight, I think if their defense can lock in and be the best it can be, that will give them their best shot at winning, which would be great. I mean, again, to go back to where we started, 7-3 in these 10 road games, going back the first one in this stretch against the Knicks, that would be awesome.
Really good. If you had said that that would be the record on the outset, I think Doc Rivers, the Sixers, everyone involved would be pretty pleased with it.
When you go to hit the mute button, but you accidentally hit to leave your pregame Tissot live countdown stream. It happens. It's bound to happen once out of 72 games.
I had a little delay, so I didn't even see you leave until you came back, or I would have tried to cover you with the assist there. I'm sorry I dropped the ball with that one, Seltz.
Listen, that's typically the story of my life. When I ghost, it tends to go unnoticed. So there's nothing different here. It can be, my normal life, everyday life, or 7-6 live countdown presented by Tissot.
I like that our viewers are starting to understand the charming, self-deprecating humor of Brian Seltzer.
For better or worse, it exists. Let us see. What do we have to plug in our promo spot tonight? We have a new edition of Mailbag Monday that Lauren and I taped earlier today. It's available in your 76ers Podcast Network feed now. Follow us, please, if you do not yet do so already. We've amended our policy. Big breaking news. If you follow the mailbag all season, we're no longer picking names at random for swag bags. If you leave a voicemail, you get a swag bag. That's how it works. We're generous. It's the end of the season. Stretch run. We want voicemails.
Yes, please. We had some great ones today. We love hearing from Sixers fans. Please keep them coming. We'll take the DMs, we'll take the mentions, but the voicemails are preferable. We appreciate all of you who sent them in this time.
We appreciate Ryan Coletti, Trevor Gaffney, you, Lauren Rosen, thank you, and to everyone who has streamed along with us. Next edition of 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot is going to be on Wednesday, previewing the 76ers and the Nets. Enjoy this one tonight. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.